Welcome, friends. Welcome to episode 6 of Unity Earth TV Series 1. My name is Irina Morrison from Unity Earth. There's an important shift currently happening in the collective consciousness, a shift that's bringing forth feminine spirit. Why, you may ask, why now? Because we need her. The world is craving her softness, her grace, warmth, her openness, intuition, her strength, and leadership that expresses these qualities, leading the way into a new earth. Feminine spirit must be the catalyst for mass awakening, cutting through the illusion of hatred, violence, separation, greed, destruction of life, the very thing she's designed to create. So, dear friends, we are very excited to bring to you today a group of women, amazing women, mothers, grandmothers, authors, musicians, peace activists, Indigenous wisdom keepers, spiritual teachers, women in service to love and life. And it's my great pleasure to introduce my co-facilitator and dear friend, Elizabeth Williams. Over to you, Liz, to also welcome our audience to this event.
Thank you, Irina. It is such a glorious honor to be with you all. And I welcome everyone to this inspiring gathering of women in service to love and life. Deepest gratitude to Unity Earth and their team for making this possible. In just a moment, we'll open the circle and introduce you to an amazing group of women who will share their messages of peace, hope, and love. But first, a moment of reflection. It is said that peace begins within, an inner peace we all long for, but which can be challenging to achieve in this time of chaos and uncertainty on the planet. Our brains are wired to scan for danger in the hopes of keeping us safe from harm. But what if we could rewire our brains for peace? In fact, create new neural pathways to peace. We can. Peace reigns when we choose to invite the peace that passeth all understanding to reemerge from within and take hold of our heart. Peace reigns when we choose to no longer be divided from our sisters and brothers and instead support each other. Peace reigns when we come together to say we will no longer tolerate the perpetual culture of violence and war on this planet that results in untold suffering and misery, which our so-called leaders seem unable or unwilling to stop. In this challenging yet auspicious time, many are asking, where are the women? They're right here, wholeheartedly engaged in sacred activism, so love and life triumph over fear, hatred, and despair. All share the sacred mission of ushering in the divine feminine and raising the consciousness of humanity to midwife a new earth based in peace, love, and harmony. It's time for the voice of women to be heard and heeded. As Barbara Marx Hubbard said, from procreation to co-creation, for women who want to play a role in helping to birth a new collective reality that is life-affirming, life-sustaining, and life-enhancing. Our world's dominant framing story is breaking down, and we are being invited to collectively write a more glorious story, one in which we each become active participants in the expansion of consciousness and the restoration and healing of all things. So how does this happen? Through a concept called the third way or third force. In simple terms, it is the middle path that invites radical forgiveness, understanding, and collaboration toward a new way forward. It requires us to learn to hold the tension of the opposites, the duality, bringing the opposites into a relationship from which forward momentum can emerge. New outcomes, new possibilities, new worlds. This move away from either or to both and thinking is not easy for us because we've been trained to only see duality, whose origin lies in the split between spirit and nature. As a result, human beings are third force blind. The third force, the third way is there, but we do not see it because we are too embedded in old ways of thinking and identified with the outcomes we believe serve us and our goals. To learn how to midwife third force, we have to believe in it, sense where it's going to come from, and welcome it. This happens as we rise above the ego, reconnect to our heart, and open ourselves to higher consciousness. We rewire our brains beyond polarization, pride, and fear. We stand in the middle, not taking sides, but opening to the place of grace out of which genuine newness can come. Imagine how our world would change if we each aligned our heart, our mind, and our actions with third force, this holy passage, the pure feminine power of creation. It's a pathway women know well, one we remember, desire, and are ready to walk together as we lead the way to new earth. It's the blessed pathway to peace, and I am honored to be on the journey with you. Irina.
Our first speaker is Patricia Ann Davis. Patricia is an Indigenous elder of Choctaw and Dene Navajo lineage. She's a whole systems designer specializing in peacemaking leadership who has worked as an administrator in health and human services for 20 years. Patricia is an international educator and organizational consultant who is initiated, trained, and experienced in facilitating her authentic Indigenous ceremonial change process that she designed for wellness restoration. I would also like to invite Patricia to open this circle of women and then to share her message of hope. Please, Patricia.
Thank you for your interest and your participation in this Zoom event to voice our urgent call as mothers and grandmothers to stop the violence, stop the war and suffering now. Greetings and welcome everyone. A warm heart-to-heart hug to everyone, and gratitude always to my late Dene father, Anselm Davis Sr. from Look-A-Chukai, Arizona, who gave me this task at an early age, quote of, he said, undo the thinking that caused our people so much violence and suffering. And it has been my life's work to create these opportunities to be visible, to educate in the mass media for mass healing. My message of hope as a woman of service to love and life as a cross-cultural and intergenerational spiritual healing work. That is my domain. I know from my Indigenous lens that we must reframe out of unhealthy helping, which is helping people to stay the way they are. We must reframe out of male dominance and female submission and into healthy helping teamwork between the male protector and provider task, the life task, and also the healthy female life task of life giver and nurturer. We must use co-creative power within each and every one of us to have power with each other. This eliminates the need for power over with brute force and deception, as in domestic violence in the home and lateral violence in the community of world governments, to stop perpetuating rape and war. Now I will introduce myself in the Dene traditional way. Dene is speaking of people, and we're all the holy people. Beloved relatives, my spiritual family, everything that is good, beautiful, and true for children, for parents, for grandparents, for families, for communities, and especially the healing of nations is all that I speak. I greet you with a warm, loving heart from my fireplace to your fireplace, from my ceremonial fireplace to the hearth of your homes, which is the symbol of spiritual and humane family love. I'm born of the Mississippi Band of Choctaw for the Tachitni and Kia'ani authentic medicine clans of the Dene Nation and the original people of Turtle Island. We call ourselves Dene, holy people. Thus I affirm, Diyin Dene Biyajinshle, I am a precious child of the holy people. Ado Nihitle. Also, we are all precious children of the Creator within the natural order laws of creation that governs each of us, that governs everyone equally. Peace eternally exists within us and around us in a spiritually inclusive, all-encompassing oneness that we call Hojo. The original people of this land were stewards of the four sacred elements of earth, water, fire, and air. We took care of these environmental elements because our very life constitution is of the earth, our physical body, water, our emotive body, fire is our temperature, and air is actually the holy and sacred breath of our Creator, the perfect peace and love of Creator. This is the fundamental basis of equality of all people as we journey upon our sacred Mother Earth and with Father Sky. And I want to mention here a reminder that childbirth is not pain, it is actually labor. And it's so many hours of labor to give birth to a child. And we do not want to go through so many hours of labor to give life and birth to a child, only to have someone else's mother going through the same thing, and then for our children to be bombing and killing each other. That is insane. It is a spell, and it must be lifted off of humanity. So thus we affirm Divine Mother and Loving Father, and Loving Mother and Divine Father, in our integrity where we know and see truth as the only real power, where we know and see truth as our protection, we as Indigenous elders call upon all humane beings to hear and to act upon our compassionate call as loving mothers and grandmothers to stop the violence, to stop the suffering of rape and war. Now, we all know all wars are against children, and we are adamantly refusing to recruit the next generation of youth to participate. We do not want them to participate in their own demise. And it is our collective intention to use our thinking for the appropriate function of our thinking, of our collective conscience and moral reasoning to end what I call the empire folly. This is invasion, genocide is mass murder, and plunder is mass theft. Let us not choose I win and you lose and winner take all. Let us not choose win-lose. It's no win for everyone. It's destructive and death-producing decisions for those outcomes and consequences that we are witnessing at a global crisis level today. Let us choose collectively win-win with our inherent divinity, our inherent sovereignty, our inherent genius gift for our collective survival. Let us choose win-win for constructive and life-affirming decision for those benefits in our eternal self, in the eternal now, with co-creative power within us to have the power to cooperate, to collaborate, to inspire, to motivate, and to activate our synchronistic and synergistic exponential peacemaking within ourselves and within our Mother Earth, our home, our habitat, our sanctuary. In this blessing way ceremony, May we live the loving way as a way of life. Thank you, my spiritual family, and all of my relatives.
And thank you, Patricia, for that beautiful, beautiful opening to our circle. And now I'd like to introduce Anne Baring, who I have been collaborating with for the past 6 months or so on what we have called our urgent call to all mothers and grandmothers. War and violence ends now. Dr. Anne Baring was born in 1931 and is a historian, teacher, and Jungian analyst. She is the author and co-author of 8 books, among them The Myth of the Goddess, The Divine Feminine, and The Dream of the Cosmos, A Quest for the Soul. In July, she published Messages from a Transcendent Dimension, the channeled messages received by her mother from 1943 to 1968. Her 2 websites are devoted to a new vision of reality and the choice we need to make if our species is to survive. Welcome, Anne. And darling, you'll need to unmute. Thank you.
Okay. I can speak where my mother was unable to speak. So there are currently 32 conflicts taking place on this planet, including the devastating wars in Ukraine, the Middle East, and Sudan. In all of them, the sacred gift of life is being extinguished as I speak. As we witness the intolerable suffering of the helpless victims of war, we may ask, what pit of depravity have we descended into? War is a rape of the soul, a collective psychosis where rage, fear, and hatred flood the conscious mind and paralyze the heart. War creates a hell on earth. War legitimizes hatred, cruelty, and obscene acts of barbarism. War destroys lives, homes, cities, and livelihoods. People are taught to see others as vermin, as scum, to be wiped from the face of the earth. War inflicts trauma that lasts for generations. War and the struggle for power between nations and religions have led us to the edge of the precipice we stand on today. The sacrifice of young men in war has become acceptable and justifiable instead of being condemned as a horrific sacrificial ritual that it is. Thousands of young soldiers have been killed and thousands more will die. They write to their mothers and wives that they do not want to die. They do not want to kill, yet they will kill and be killed. Women have no voice in these terrible conflicts. During the 4 millennia of patriarchal rule, women and children have been the silent victims of war. Rape is the oldest and least reported crime of war. What happened to women in the Iliad 3,000 years ago is still happening today, all over the world. Women, if they survive, can be shunned by their communities and never recover from the horror, shame, and humiliation of the violent assault on their bodies. The fate of the earth now lies in the hands of women. Only women can break the powerful spell of the addiction to war. Only women can help men to free themselves from the compulsion to engage in war and create ever more demonic weapons. The stockpile of nuclear weapons now stands at 12,000, with the United States and Russia accounting for 90% of these. Men cannot free themselves from their addiction to war because it is rooted in immensely powerful survival instincts. Only women in service to love and life can bring the insanity of war and violence to an end. There are 2 widely divergent views of our presence on this planet. Are we alone in the cosmos, without higher guidance, the chance product of a lifeless mechanistic universe that is without consciousness, intelligence, meaning, or purpose? Or are we on an incredible evolutionary journey that has brought us to this crucial time of choice, when we must transcend old habits, free ourselves from the web of evil we have become enmeshed in, and listen to the guidance of the divinity that is within us and all around us. The choice we face is between continuing with a pattern of killing each other, which will lead to our ultimate destruction as a species, or breaking the bonds which have imprisoned and enslaved us for 4 millennia. Women are one half of humanity. We are the carriers of new life. War is an outrageous affront to mothers, to all women, and to the earth herself, our mother. It is up to us to bring to an end the loss of the precious lives that we have carried in our womb. But more than this, war is a crime against the divine feminine, the cosmic mother of all life. The divine feminine is the forgotten aspect of the Godhead, once worshipped as divine wisdom, the Holy Spirit, and the tree of life. The divine feminine is the unseen web of life that connects each one of us to all others, to the life of the planet and the greater life of the cosmos. Because we are part of that web of life, we are all brothers and sisters. The divine feminine stands for the heart and for love, compassion, and justice, the 3 primary values which protect and serve life. It is summed up in this statement by a council of the Indigenous people of North America. All life is sacred. We come into life as sacred beings. When we abuse the sacredness of life, we affect all creation. The 3 patriarchal religions banish the divine feminine from their concept of deity. In so doing, they cut the umbilical cord which connected invisible spirit to the life of the earth. As a result, world culture and the human psyche are out of alignment with both the earth and the cosmos. These religions put their emphasis on belief and collective worship, seeing other religions as rivals, believing that God blessed their aggression against their enemies. We have been impaled on a cosmology of separation for thousands of years, worshipping a deity who is above and beyond the creative order, not immanent within it, not present in every blade of grass. War has been endemic throughout the patriarchal era for 4,000 years. To put an end to war, we need a metaphysical revolution, a complete change in our image of deity. Maybe it is time to ask, what have we failed to understand? 3 of the greatest spiritual traditions of the world have spoken about our innate divinity. Hinduism about the Atman, or divine core of our being. Buddhism about our underlying Buddha nature. Christianity about the kingdom of heaven within us and all around us. All 3 have taught that our undeveloped consciousness, immersed in material reality, prevents us from knowing and experiencing the truth of who we are and why we are here. The divinity within us seeks expression through love, compassion, and service of life. The body, so casually sacrificed in war, is the sacred temple of the soul. Killing contravenes the law of life. The 6th commandment says, "Thou shalt not kill, for life is given to all by God, and that which God has given, let man not take away." So why, after thousands of years of religion, are we still engaged in wars and preparing for future wars? And why have we created a demonic technology that can wipe us out as a species and destroy the life of the planet? If we realize that all life is sacred and that the life of every human being is a sacred creation, we could bring war and violence to an end. The divine feminine calls to us to become aware that we participate in her life, that everything is connected, one life, one divine spirit. She asks us to awaken to the light hidden within our soul and unite it with the invisible soul of the cosmos. She asks us to transmute the base metal of our understanding so that we, evolved from the very substance of the stars, can know that we live within the love and light of the divine ground while living in this material dimension of reality. So I say again that the fate of the earth lies in the hands of women. The planet will be saved by the intuition of the weak, not by the will of the strong. Love be with you. Love be with the world. Love be the only eternal blessing. Thank you.
Thank you, Anne. Our next speaker is Svetlana Kudryashova. Svetlana lives in Kiev, the capital city of Ukraine, which has been at war with Russia since February 2022. She has not been able to leave the city as her husband is disabled. Prior to her retirement, Svetlana was a teacher for 45 years in a local school called Peace School, which was founded by the Ukrainian Movement of Educators for Peace and Mutual Understanding. Svetlana received a certificate as an ambassador for peace in 2013. In addition to her career, Svetlana was involved in peacemaking activities in her community, including the Peace Museum, the Peace Pole Project, and May Peace Prevail on Earth. Svetlana believes there's no peace without peace education. Her message to the world is learn peace, teach peace. Svetlana, will you please share with us your experience living in Ukraine since the start of the war? And of course, tell us a little bit about your message to learn peace, teach peace.
Thank you, my dear. It's so nice. I am satisfied with your words. My dear friends, my dear ladies, it's a great honor for me to be among you, the women who want to educate others to live life in peace and blessings. Thanks a lot for this wonderful opportunity. I do support this great idea, especially now, when the war ruins my country, Ukraine, and you see how small Ukraine fights against this monster. So, for the Ukrainians, peace is the only battle worth waging. It's a pity. Firstly, about myself. My name is Svetlana. By the way, the part of my name, Svetla, is translated as light. I am the retired teacher, but I continue to support my school, which has the honorable name, the Peace School. I can't help supporting teachers and students because my school is so close to my house and I see it from my windows every day. Now some words about schooling. This year, at last, kids went to school on the 1st of September after a long period of online education, approximately 5 years. But the conditions for studying are hellish. The school was opened this year only, listen, because the bomb shelter was constructed under school building. So when the air alarm siren begins, the kids go down to the shelter. Imagine how they are stressed and how they suffer. In addition, there are 2 shifts at school. It means school works from 8 a.m. till 7 p.m. It's awful, you understand. Furthermore, I had been working as in a happy school till the 24th of February 2022. But the war was far in the east from 2014, and we didn't feel great influence. But now everything is quite different. We are in the center of events. The threat of missile attacks, shelling of different towns and villages happen every day. Even this night, our capital was shelled and many buildings were ruined. I have never expected to spend my old years in fear and stress. My heart is bleeding when I listen to the latest news. On the other hand, I am proud of living in this wonderful country, Ukraine. Ukraine has a surprising history which is closely connected with the life and fate of women, not only in Ukraine, but in the world. With your permission, some history of Ukraine concerning the role of women in our life. The first famous woman of Kiev Rus was Princess Olga, who lived in the 8th century. She was the first to bring Christianity into her country, and her grandson, Volodymyr the Great, finished her affair, baptizing Kiev Rus. Later, Prince Yaroslav the Wise, who was the ruler of the country, and his 4 daughters became the queens of different states of Europe. So the Ukrainians have many relatives in Europe. Our women have always inspired our men to fight for our freedom and independence. The tenacity of the Ukrainian people is admired by all of the peace-loving people. And this war has proved it. There is no gender at the war. Now near 60,000 women are active at the war. 5,000 women are on the first lines. Women have equal rights with men, certainly in the war activities. They are indomitable and resilient heroes of the war. Among them, there are women of different professions. Even there are many snipers. The next moment is that the great desire to save children pushed women to become refugees. Now, near 8 million women and their children live and work in different countries. But I think it's a great exploit of our women to save our future, and I am sure they will return and rebuild the new country. The next, you know that our president, Mr. Zelensky, is very enthusiastic to glorify our country. Thanks his great efforts, the Ukrainian army get necessary weapons, missiles, drones, tanks, and clothes. There are many women in the volunteers army. They do thousands of things to help our defenders. When our school was involved in weaving the protective nets, I worked with others during 1 month. Our First Lady, Olena Zelenska, is famous for her active position during the wartime. She was selected as the one of the 25 most influential women of the world, according to the version of Financial Times. Can you imagine how many Ukrainian women are famous in the world? As for me, I can't, but we feel their active work everywhere. I had been working in the same school for all my life, and I don't regret about this. What can the teacher do? Certainly to teach and spread their knowledge for young generations. And I worked according to my message. Learn peace, teach peace. And I want to say something very interesting for you. I hope, and I wanted to do something for our school and by myself. I hope our great peacemaker Nina Meyerhoff will continue to mentor and inspire a world family that loves her with all their hearts, and she will bring new projects to our young students. They are waiting for them because these projects empower them to thrive and prosper. It means that I will be involved too, so I will be happy in this difficult time. And the last, to sum up, I want to say I have the dream. You know, these are not mine words, you know whose words these are. It's the dream of all mothers, grandmothers, children of the world. We demand to stop and to ban wars in the whole world, to save our Mother Earth from extinction. We need life and love for everybody. May all people be free from suffering. May all people know peace. May all people be loved. May all people know joy. May peace prevail on earth. Thank you for your attention. I love you very much.
Svetlana, thank you so much for your beautiful sharing in these difficult, difficult times. As
Yeah,
Svetlana and I would speak together over the last couple of weeks, she would tell me that she didn't sleep the night before because of the bombings and the missiles. And so we can't even, many of us cannot even imagine what you're living through. And please know that our hearts and our prayers are with you all.
It's a pity, but let's pray together. Thank you that you do the same. Thank you, my dears.
Thank you. And Svetlana was speaking of Nina in her
Yes,
talk.
Nina is our love.
And Nina is here with us. Dr. Nina Meyerhoff is the founder of Children of the Earth, a worldwide organization that empowers youth working for peace, and co-founder of the One Humanity Institute for Peace and Regeneration as a solutionarium located in auspicious, Auschwitz, Poland. Her innovative work in peace and sustainability through educational methodologies has reached young people in over 100 countries and continues to grow. Nina co-authored the book Conscious Education, The Bridge to Freedom, and developed a one-of-a-kind handbook entitled Pioneering Spiritual Activism. She has received numerous awards. I cannot even say them all. It's magnificent. But for all of her work, including the Mother Teresa Award, the Citizens Department of Peace Award, the International Educators Award, the Global Leadership and Lifetime Award, and the Visioneer Lifetime Achievement Award as a heroine of humanity. We are so honored to have you with us. Thank you, Nina.
Thank you. It's really amazing to hear those kind of accolades, because I only think of myself as a social activist, a person who really cares about what happens in the world. I've worked with young people for over 50 years. They call me Mama Nina, and I like that. And Svetlana, I love you, and I love all the children at your school and the other teachers. So thank you. I'll tell you a little story. I've worked all around the world, but I was invited to Auschwitz. And that was a very moving experience for me because it was my family's history. My grandmother was murdered the day I was born. So there's a deep connection. And so as a woman who really cares about the children and our future, I worked with another person, Domin Kochevar, to begin to understand what would transforming this horrific place be like? What could we do to create a one humanity? And we've acquired at this point 3 buildings, and one of them is called the House of Hope. And when I heard about the war in Ukraine, there was something that called me, and I ran the first week that I heard right to the border. I was in the United States. I called up 2 people to go with me. We gathered teddy bears and we met women and children at the border, and we saw that they had no place to go. They didn't know what to do with themselves. You know, their men were staying behind, and these were the women with children. That's not the typical war arrangement when you have refugees, families going from country to country. And so I was in Poland, and we raised money. A lot of the people from Unity Earth participated, and we refitted a building for 40 people to live in, and also to create a peace lab, which would be a conference room for young people. And we hired a teacher to teach Polish to the Ukrainian children. And we did Zooms. One of the Zooms we did was, what does the impact of war have on you? And like asking the young people, what does it mean? From Rwanda to Chicago and the inner city kids, to the Ukrainian young people, to the Polish kids. They all have very strong reactions. They've had enough. They want to have a life that is beautiful, that allows them to live freedom and allows them to have families in the future and begin to think about what is the world that they want. So from there, we invited also to bring in young people from the Ukraine into the House of Hope. And that was our first actual in-person meeting. And it was very touching, moving, deeply felt. And I would say that what I really understood from one young person who said, it feels like I'm in another universe. So imagine you come from war to a place where you're welcome, where people want you and discuss with you what is the hope of a future? Who are you? What can you bring to make a better world? So this was a very important turning point. And Svetlana worked with me, and we were so happy to do this. So at the same time, I wanted to say we did teddy bears, and we took thousands of teddy bears to 30 orphanages for Christmas, and we're able to film one of the orphanages where the children opened their gifts. So I don't know if you know, but a lot of the orphanages really aren't orphans, but are children that are kept during the war because their families are going, are in the army. So that's a difficult thing, So our future is to plan more programs, obviously, and we're doing that right now, and to see an end to war and to help young people stand in their power and understand that they're the leaders of tomorrow, and that it's up to them to start to take initiative of what is the world that we want to see. And when I'm very also involved in the Mideast crisis, and I see it as very similar to what's happening in Ukraine. Not that I take sides, but that Iran, Russia, and China are geopolitical friends on one side behind the scenes, and then it's the United States and the Western country. And these mega countries are ruling our future, and we must step out of that and allow our hearts to sing again. My hope is that we recognize every human being is a precious soul and deserves the right to have freedom. And thank you. And that's it.
Thank you, Nina. Such a lovely message that you shared. It's my absolute pleasure to now introduce Alison Raymer. I work closely with Alison's dad, John Raymer. Alison Raymer is the descendant of Ashkenazi Jewish, Quaker, and Catholic religious leaders, mystics, entrepreneurs, and artists. She lived and worked in the occupied Palestinian territory and Israel for 15 years, supporting the establishment of several human rights organizations and working with international humanitarian and development organizations. Alison is currently developing the Social Change Sanctuary, multi-faith, interspiritual, intergenerational community that is focused on providing a spiritual foundation for addressing systemic injustice and social justice. She is a part of collective liberation. Alison also works one-on-one with people as politicized spiritual guide. Alison, would you please share with us about your experiences in Israel, Palestine, and Gaza, and tell us a little bit more about your emerging role as politicized spiritual guide?
Thank you very much. I also just want to name some of the teachers that have really influenced me. One of them who is here with me today, Patricia Ann Davis, who has for years been supporting my family, and I've been learning her teachings through our family. So I'm really honored actually to be here. It's the first time that I get to speak alongside her. And thank you for the invitation. I actually really wanted to start with a poem and kind of just bring us into some connection with also some of the beautiful work and creative cultural works and arts that are coming to us now in this really challenging time. So I'm just going to start with Summons by Aurora Levine Morales, who's a Puerto Rican Jewish poet, writer, and speaker. Last night I dreamed 10,000 grandmothers from the 1,200 corners of the earth walked out into the gap, one breath deep, between the bullet and the flesh, between the bomb and the family. They told me we cannot wait for governments. There are no peacemakers boarding planes. There are no leaders who dare to say every life is precious. So it will have to be us. They said we will cup our hands around each heart. We will sing the earth's song, the song of water, a song so beautiful that vengeance will turn to weeping. The mourners will embrace and grief replace every impulse towards harm. 10,000 is not enough, they said. So we have set this dream like a flock of doves into the sleep of the world. Wake up, put on your shoes. You who are reading this, I am bridging bandages and a bag of scented guavas for my tree. I think I remember the tune. Meet me at the corner. Let's go. Words are very challenging at this time. Sometimes they come to us very quickly and potently through what feels like clear consciousness, and other times the words that we may have known to express things have shifted and have gone and fallen away. I spent 15 years, as you were mentioning just a little bit about that, on a journey to really consider this word terrorist. What did this mean? I've grown up with dozens of wars, really, starting with 9/11, Iraq, Afghanistan, and the total destruction of so many cities and sacred places in the Middle East and around the world. I'm born on a land that is stolen and been destroyed, and a people whose culture has been consistently oppressed for generations. And so in continuing in the lineage of both the oppressed and the oppressor, I felt it was very important to go and to know these people that were being called terrorists. And part of the challenge was that I found myself discovering that it wasn't really the people who it wasn't the people who I was told were terrorists at all. They embraced me actually so well when I came with my questions and my confusion, to help me to remove all of the racism and all of the oppression that has been in my mind and in generations of my people. And then to discover actually that my own people were inflicting so much harm and behaving like I had imagined terrorists behaved. And I had to also sit with and be with and learn how to connect with that terrible and painful reality. And it was through that process of recognizing that the dreams that I had and the dreams that Jewish people had, thinking that they were building some homeland and an intentional community and returning to be to one another, was actually not the reality. And instead we were the fodder and the tinder of more fire that comes from the like European and Western thinking and theology, and understanding, as we've talked about, of that we can have dominion over people, that we can have dominion over land, that it is not within us and within all of us. So over this time, what I've really come to know and sit with and be with is that sense of what Patricia was speaking about, that we are a precious child of Creator. And I saw that in everyone. I saw that in soldiers and settlers. I saw that in resistance fighters. And I felt what it was, not only for the oppressed, but also for the oppressors. And collective liberation really means all of us. It means everyone. And there's no one that can be left out of that transformative process. And it's here for us to be present to. We don't have to, I think we have to recognize what has happened, and we have to be able to sit and grieve and weep over that to stop our vengeance. But it is not something that doesn't already exist. It is not, there's not the opportunity for us already to be connected to that. So I think that I wanted to say that I was originally asked to invite my Palestinian or Israeli friends to join this talk today, but in my discussions with them, which I have daily, many people are, it's not even safe to speak about calling for peace right now, and especially in a public space. So really, though I definitely am sharing what is on my heart now, I'm also really bringing in and want you all to know how much they really deeply appreciate the support for Palestinian liberation, for their collective liberation at this time, and also for peace and justice. There is a need truly for a justice to be a part of whatever a peaceful future will look like. So I thank you very much for this opportunity to share.
Allison, thank you so much for being with us and for all of the beautiful work you've done over the years, and for the humility to be able to go to the land and learn from it and from them, not assuming we have the answers. It's beautiful and it's important work. So thank you. And the beautiful poem that you began with was just amazing. It just brought goosebumps all over. So I thank you so much. And we also hold in peace all those who are struggling in the Middle East right now, and in Israel, Gaza, and Palestine, and certainly honor the fact that they cannot speak out in truth about the peace that they may desire. And so we're going to now, I have the pleasure of introducing our next wonderful guest, Hezekiah Gabriel. So Hezekiah is the Executive Director of Pathways to Peace, a UN designated peace messenger organization that holds consultative status with the UN Department of Global Communications and the UN Economic and Social Council, and an organization that just celebrated its 40th anniversary of existence. Magnificent. She is the owner of Gabriel Associates, an organizational development firm that works with NGOs locally, nationally, and internationally to effect real and positive change. Hezekiah is an ordained minister who conducts interfaith and cross-cultural ceremonies and works with individuals and groups to empower the divine within each of us. And Tez, I'm so excited to have you share. And I also want to note that one of the most recent projects that Tez is working on is a magnificent occurrence in Guinea amongst young women who are choosing against the violence of female genital mutilation. They are going against what their culture has told them, what their families have told them, and as a result are being ostracized, and Tezekiah and others are stepping in to support them. And so I hope you'll share with us about that as well, Tez, because I think we have much to learn from youth who have that kind of bravery and courage to go against what they've been taught. So thank you for being with us.
Thank you. I'm just so honored and humbled by the words that have already been spoken here. I am just so grateful to be here. I have honored, embraced, embodied the divine feminine in my life and in my work for over 40 years. So it's delightful to be here with all of us who are in service to love and life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I always say that I was dedicated to service before I entered the womb. And so I'm going to be talking today, as you suggested, Liz, about the girls' shelter. And I'm going to share the story of the girls' shelter in Guinea. It's the Avon Madison Girls' Shelter. And as you spoke about, Liz, it is a shelter for girls who are brave and say no to female genital mutilation and are homeless as a result. It's a love story. It's an absolute love story. And it's a story that has evolved into a story about social change and how one can go about empowering these young girls. And it's a story more than anything about bravery. And so I'm delighted to be here to tell that story. First, before I go into the story, I want to lift up our incredible partners in Guinea, because without them, we couldn't be telling this story today. There would be no girls' shelter. The name of the organization is War Against Poverty. And they are a staff of 9, and 7 of them are young men and 2 are young women. They run an orphanage and a school, and now the shelter, the girls' shelter. They are incredibly and totally dedicated to ending gender-based violence and creating a community that stands in solidarity with them. They are very brave. So Guinea is a patriarchal culture. This practice of female genital mutilation has been there and practiced for over 2,000 years. It is deeply embedded in the culture. 75% of young girls will experience the torturous act of female genital mutilation. So again, the girls that say no are brave. Our partners are brave to be out in their community and educating about ending gender-based violence. So after one of those presentations, 2 young girls came to our partners seeking help. Because of the presentation in the community, they felt they had permission and support to say no to female genital mutilation. And now they were homeless. They were forced to leave their families. And so they had nowhere to go. And so our partners shared this story, and they shared their vision. And their vision was that there could be a home for girls, where girls who needed to escape female genital mutilation and forced child marriage would have a place to go. I asked them what happened to the 2 young girls that came forward seeking help. And they said that they were able to keep them for a while in the school and orphanage, but they didn't have the resources to continue. But they found a safe temporary space for each of them, but it was temporary. So you can imagine that my heart broke open, and I could not turn a blind eye. So that with that vision in mind and on the table, I said, I think we can help. So the bravery of these young girls, I cannot imagine it. And the bravery of our partners to be able to stand against this practice and to be so dedicated to the young girls in their community and to say no. But our partners are incredibly wise, incredibly dedicated, incredibly credible and visible in their community. And so we said yes. Together, we said yes to the creation of the girls' shelter. And the girls' shelter opened just a few months back on Peace Day, September 21st, to great jubilation in Guinea, to feasting and music. A local musician created a song for the opening with beautiful lyrics, dancing, and dignitaries from the community speaking to stop female genital mutilation. So you can read about there's so much to that backstory on our website, which is pathwaystopeace.org. So, but what I wanted to share today and what I wanted to reflect about was the question that you put on the table, Elizabeth, which is really, so what about the other girls? How can we stop this practice beyond Guinea, beyond the community of Kenya? What have we learned through this process that we can share that might make a difference? And so I'm going to just share a little bit around our own experience about what we've learned and what has unfolded. This is where the story also touches on second-order social change, because we know that we are going to end female genital mutilation and perhaps forced child marriage in Guinea in one generation. So here's what we've learned. First, we know that social change means that it has to work on all levels. So for us, the critical components were having this trusting relationship with our Guinea partners. It's based on love, it's based on mutual respect, and it's based on integrity. Secondly, that our loyal partners were totally dedicated, credible, and able to secure high-level community support because of who they were in their communities. It did not hurt and really helped that they were mostly men, because in a patriarchal culture, we need to have the allies that embrace that divine feminine themselves and that dedication that we experienced. Their deep love of the children of their community and being accountable stewards to the resources to assure that all the resources were accounted for and would go directly to support the girls in the shelter or the kids in the shelter, in the orphanage and in the school. So on our part, Pathways to Peace, I feel so fortunate that Pathways to Peace is always divinely led, always has been. And we can respond to the heart's call when it occurs. So our partners and us, we created this shared vision of this girls' shelter and a belief that we could really make it happen, that we were willing to take a risk. We didn't have money to do it. We just knew that it was right, that it was good, and that it was worth us stepping into. So we continued and continue to nurture our relationship, and we lift each other up. There is so much love and joy in the relationship and in the process of developing this shelter that came together in 4 months, okay, from the vision to the opening of the shelter. And our partners, again, their ability to bring in the most credible leaders in their community to say no to female genital mutilation was just incredible, because it created not only the ability for us to advance the work, but created some level of safety for our partners, with the police on board, the chief on board, the most credible doctor on board. So it gave them a little bit more safety and security to be promoting this work. So their credibility and visibility and connections in the community also meant that they could find the right secure facility for the shelter, and that they could find qualified staff to work with the girls to provide that emotional support, that job training, everything that's provided, the basic needs in the shelter. Finding female staff that were brave enough to say no to this practice wasn't an easy task, but they did well. And our role was really to lift up, support, promote the shelter, and bring in resources. So while we haven't yet covered our first year budget, I so know that the shelter resources are going to come in. The love and the joy that is a part of creating abundance is so evident here. People are called to the girls' shelter. So many amazing people have come forward to lend their time, talent, and resources, and many more will be called. And the invitation is an open invitation to help. So while the team is actively out there promoting in Guinea on the ground, promoting, none of our efforts feel like there's a lack of safety, a lack of security, and the girls are being taken care of. So more globally, if I can just touch on a few things for those who might be listening and thinking that they'd like to make a difference in this way. First of all, we did not set out to create a girls' shelter. It was a very organic process of responding to the call. But we do know that that continued community education to stop gender-based violence from credible community members, particularly male allies in those patriarchal cultures, makes a difference. That once you raise that awareness, you need to also be aware of the potential consequences of raising that awareness in the communities. The girls need safe places to go, or they're not going to have the courage to stand up and say no. The girls, and in that safe place, that shelter, what we've provided and what needs to be provided is job training, emotional and physical support for them to become who they were intended to be, and for them to then be role models for other girls. And so as we look out, we know that these girls are becoming women who can effectively contribute to their community in all ways, in decision-making, in economics, that these will be leaders in their community. So thank you for listening. And in closing, I would like to say that we are one, we know that. And that in that spirit of oneness, these girls are our girls and they are us. And so our story continues to unfold with new exciting developments. So please stay tuned. And in that spirit of oneness, I'd like to close with my favorite quote, which is how we approach our work. It's a quote from Lila Watson. And she says, "If you've come to help me, you're wasting your time. But if you come because your liberation is bound to mine, then come and let us work together." So thank you. And let's go to work.
Thank you so much, Hezekiah. That was absolutely beautiful. What a powerful story to share, and what a powerful work that you do. It really displays the strength of the feminine spirit of these young females standing up to such a cruel tradition. And also I'd like to say in the way of showing oneness and raising the awareness about, the violence and the cruelty that's taking place that many of us perhaps wouldn't even be aware of. But deep down, we are all connected and we are all affected by it. So thank you for raising the awareness on that issue as well. Next, we have Devi Mohan. Devi is an inspirational speaker, president of the globally active charity ACT Foundation. She's the co-founder of the World Womanhood Project. Devi is also the global ambassador of the Mohanji Foundation and the director of faculty of the Himalayan School of Traditional Yoga. Devi indeed wears many hats, and she's practicing non-attachment to any of them. Devi also experienced war firsthand as a young woman and refugee in the former Yugoslavia. Today, she'll be sharing her message that women are anchors of peace and stability. Thank you for being with us, Devi.
Thank you, Irina. It's wonderful to join this beautiful group, this circle of women. And us as women, we operate the best in a circle. We are not in hierarchy. We are not in competition with one another. In the feminine spirit, we hold space, we create, we manifest. And more than anything, it is our sacred womb space that gives us the power. This is like a portal to another dimension. And it's such a powerful space that it allows for creation of a new life. So I conduct women's circles and I help women to become aware of what we carry within our womb and how powerful and deep we are. And I've been through war. I've been on the edge of being raped several times, and each time I connected with this womb space, and the right words, deep words, came out from there, and I was saved. I've also been a refugee and have been through the war, and I hear you, Svetlana, because we've been through the same thing in a way, same story of Slavic people killing each other, and that fight, for one eye has one vision, the other eye has another vision, but only third eye can have the right vision. Only when we rise above polarity can we have the right vision. And that space is actually feminine space, and my greatest inspiration, my husband Mohanji, who's also my spiritual guide through life, and someone who has penetrated higher levels of consciousness, has risen above ego through his own pain, through his own process, and has helped me to embark on this path completely out of victimhood, completely dedicated to higher purpose. He has helped me understand that, it's from the ancient days in India, you have this energy system in the etheric body with so-called chakras, right? But when you come to the point of Agnya chakra on the forehead, this is the most powerful territory, because here you rise above ego. But then there are small adhars, as they call in India, small platforms above. And this is the territory of Devi, the Divine Mother. So only those who respect and truly honor the feminine can actually rise to the liberation, to the crown, right? So the consciousness cannot rise individually or collectively unless one completely and deeply and sincerely respects and loves the feminine. So in the Vedic India, this was known, and Devi was a principle of Divine Mother that had many aspects, not just the gentle, compassionate Virgin Mother that we know in the Abrahamic religions, especially in Christianity, but also the powerful, artistic, so Durga, Kali, Saraswati, but none of these aspects are in any sort of competition with one another. They are within the circle. So us as women, we manifest different aspects of Devi, and we need to be in the circle, and we need to master our ability of holding the space. Energetic holding of space is a feminine quality. And when our hearts are aligned with our truth, with the unconditionality of life, with a higher vision above our shadow, as Carl Gustav Jung called it, the shadow part of our psyche, we as women are so powerful in that heart space that we can hold space for that higher vision to rise above the two eyes. So let's say now you have the eye of the Israel and the eye of the Palestine, and then, or Ukraine and Russia, or in any conflict, there's always two sides of the story, right? And one will always say only our version is true, and they will fight for their voice to come out and be heard, their version to be adopted as the official version. But it's never true. This is the truth. It's never just one version. Because as you said in the beginning, every life is sacred. And I have seen that it is our task to rise above the two eyes into the third eye and hold space for that vision, which is always above conflict and polarity, because we don't hide from our shadow. We allow the content of the shadow to come out. And this is the key inner work that, again, the feminine holds space for that. Because we have that powerful vulnerability, because we have the womb space, so this is our task. There will be the masculine powers that hold the weapon industry and nuclear industry and all the secret services, armies, and all these stuff are there, but on the overall landscape, the real power always comes from the love. In India, they say Maya is the illusion of life. Maya means that what is measurable. And what is real is immeasurable. love is immeasurable and it's always more powerful because no weapon and weaponry industry can hold water for long, you know. We see through them. You know, during the war in former Yugoslavia, I was 13 when I became a refugee, and I remember distinctly this one story that was perpetuated through the media, which are always owned by the lobbies behind, right? Media are never objective. So in Croatia, they showed this horrible image that Serbian extremists, they called Chetniks, have oven-fried Croatian baby, like a piglet, you know. And then when I came to Serbia, after some time, I saw the same story that Croatian extremists, the Ustashi, have oven-fried a baby, you know. The same imagery was shown. So it's meant to cause that polarization, to project from your shadow onto the other, you know, to always see the other as the alien other that you don't relate to, right? So our task as women is to create that space of compassion, understanding that rises above polarity. So I was blessed, you know, to win some scholarships that were my dream. And there was this amazing woman, John B. Kroc, whose husband, you know, was the founder of McDonald's and all that. And after he died, she was left with a lot of wealth, and she dedicated some of that wealth to this amazing scholarship meant to serve peace. So that's John B. Kroc Institute for Peace Studies at Notre Dame University. And I was one of the 20 scholarship winners in the year 2004. And it was my chance to study peace, you know, and it was an amazing, amazing experience. First of all, it was the woman from her heart that made the studies possible for me and other students from war-torn areas, including a lovely gentleman from Palestine Authority, from Rwanda, from Cambodia, from like different countries. And we all, aside from studies, we sometimes had a circle in which we sat, and that was the most powerful part of our studies, when we could share, you know. And I understood the power of sharing the experience-based truth, and that became kind of my calling. And in February this year, I published my book called Home for a Refugee. And home means the consciousness, you know, because when I became a refugee, I lost my home, I lost my grounding, I lost my stability. I felt I lost myself, you know, and I started to search so intensely. My spiritual seeking was like really intense. And that whole seeking and my desire to rise above all these wars and suffering and to find meaning in that pain took me to United Nations, then later on the scholarships, then my spiritual journey, India, and meeting Mohanji and dedicating my life to selfless service, to the spiritual diplomacy of sorts, where I met Irina and Unity Earth, beautiful people. And we were together at the walls of Jerusalem just before COVID, and there were so many beautiful experiences that we shared. So in that book, Home for a Refugee, I wrote about my key experiences, like a near-death experience, conscious astral travel, many things that I was blessed with because I allowed myself to go into the pain. I didn't run away. And I feel this is my message, you know, that as women, we are actually more brave than men, because we see that even during delivery of a baby, that our ability to dive deep into the darkness and pain and selflessly go through so much to then bring forth a new life. And even women who have not delivered children, they have the sacred womb space. Even the women who have had the operation and physically removed the womb, they energetically hold the womb space. So that womb space is there for all women. And if we only were aware how powerful it is, we together in big circles, globally, circles in different countries, we can start to manifest from there. And just like the mothers in the indigenous communities, they understood we have our cycles, just like Mother Earth has cycles. We are so attuned, we are so grounded. we are the ones that are the pillars of peace. It is our responsibility to energize the pillar of peace and stability in the world. And now, after thousands of years of patriarchy, we finally collectively come to a moment in time and space where we can actually do it. And I've had visions of my ancestors from the Balkan region, because our history has been faked. We were not in the Balkan region from 6th or 7th century. We were there for thousands of years. There was a beautiful Vinča civilization of love, where there was no war for 2,000 years. And there are historians who are proving it now. And this is an example of a civilization that can, where masculine and feminine are in perfect balance. So I'm now moved back to Serbia, and I'm so excited to dive deep into research and understanding and feeling through DNA and through consciousness about this civilization and its message. And you know, in the Balkan region that was like ravaged by so many wars, I feel that it is our duty to show the world that we can do it, you know. And it is the women who will hold the space. So I come back to this point of these adars, you know. When we rise above the ego, about the need to compete with one another, above the, you know, this patriarchal programs, the software of women competing with one another to grab the man or to achieve something, we need to rise into the spirit of sisterhood. We need to connect to our wombs. They say now the earth is thirsty of menstrual blood. Our mothers used to give menstrual blood to earth. You know, during menstruation, they would sit on the ground and allow the blood to flow. We think it's something dirty, you know, we put it into these pads filled with plastic. We need to come back to the nature. We need to understand that everything in our body is sacred, and the power of that womb space. And, you know, what I feel, the example of Mary Magdalene and Jesus, the entire crucifixion was actual shift in collective consciousness through the consciousness of Christed one. But Mary Magdalene was the one who held space. She was in immense pain watching her beloved Christ being crucified, but she was not afraid, because she was the master of heart chakra. She held the space for him to pass through that passage and, you know, show the path of light for humanity. And what they did to her, they made her into a prostitute, you know, tainted her mastery. She was a master. And they took away from us the archetype of the feminine. You know, they've made us strive towards the unachievable virgin or prostitute, virgin, prostitute, and where we don't have any role model. It was removed through the patriarchy. And then with the feminist movement, we were made to masculinize ourselves and enter their corporate structures wearing their suits. So now is the time for women to come back into their curves, into their feminine qualities. We are now at a time where we will enter the true feminine power that actually holds space for the masculine to come back into the balance. So this is the biggest event on planet Earth right now. And until that is achieved, I feel there will not be peace, you know, because this is the calling and the responsibility of women. So all the transitions, the moment of birth, when we give birth to a child, the moment when daughters shift from childhood into teenage days and get their first menstrual cycle, these transitions, we hold space, we celebrate, we understand the sanctity. Even the marriage, you know, the sacred marriage is actually the marriage of the feminine masculine in the crown. That the moment of soul leaving the body, these are all these transitions where women hold space. It is a feminine quality to hold space there. And as all these transitions are honored and as health comes into relationships, psyche, emotions, then naturally we will not connect with the matrix of war anymore. Some will try to cause a war and people will say, no, I don't believe it. I don't get hooked by your propaganda. I don't feel it. Recently there was a friend of mine, a dear friend from Israel. I do group Maitri method sessions of energy healing, and she asked me if I can do a group session for the hostages from Israel, to free the hostages of Israel. And I told her, as much as I love you, I cannot hold space only for one side in a conflict, because I know and understand there is a deeper karmic story behind this, and I cannot take sides. I will never, ever again take sides. With all due respect for anyone going through war, I've been through it and I see through it. I hold the territory of the third eye, of the one vision, unity consciousness that's above the conflict. And this is something we need to nurture as women so that we can strengthen that depth of connection in one another through different processes, through a sharing of insight, through women's circles, through understanding of our elders, because in the olden days, as I studied during my peace studies, the indigenous communities, they always had mothers from the community who were the holders of the peace space, because simple logic is no mother wants her child to die in a war or to fight in a war. So when women are in charge of that aspect, they will not allow for so easily, oh, let's go and fight. So women are the ones who have to be invited back into the sacred councils, so that's where the real change will happen. Then when we have that balance of masculine and feminine, then we will also see a change on our planet. But I strongly feel that time is coming now, and it's the time when finally we will see the balance, when finally women will step into the power based on love, and we will reignite our circles, because we are not in hierarchy, we are in circles. So I salute this circle as well, and I thank you on this opportunity to share. And I would end with just one example. I was blessed to meet Archbishop Desmond Tutu during my peace studies, my master's degree. And he spoke to us about Peace and Reconciliation Commission. I don't know if you're familiar with that historic event. Actually, as a structure, they actually enter into holding of space. And that's the first time when I truly understood the power of holding of the space. So he shared with us what happened in that commission. It's like he would be in the jury, and there would be several other people, some female, some male. And then the perpetrator of the crime would be brought in, and there would be audience, huge audience behind. Everybody's watching. And there's a victim. So a perpetrator of the crime and the victim are together in the same space. And then first, the perpetrator of the crime is asked to say what he has done, to really voice out everything that he has done to this person, the victim. And as he speaks, they simply hold space. They're not there frowning and hating him. They're heart-centered, and they're holding space for him, trusting in divine in him to be triggered, the light to come back. It's just so powerful. So this man talks, and suddenly, he feels, there's remorse. There's that thirst to come back to the divine within. He wants to be saved, but jail and punishment is not the only way. There are other ways out of it. So he first has to come out of the ego to a point that he can voice out what he has done. Then the victim, she speaks after him. So this man was talking. The woman is there, the victim, and he's saying, I did this. I put her breast in a drawer, and I was force closing the drawer, hurting her. And he gives all the details of the abuse and harm that he's done to that woman. And at some point he cries, he's going through this process, and she keeps looking. And at the end, she looks him in the eyes and she says, I forgive you. And this is so much more than mental, because she has seen the very fact that he could say in front of everybody all the horrible things he has done. The shift has already happened. And I was so touched by this. I was like, wow, what a powerful, and this is a feminine way of resolving conflict. It's totally feminine because they did it through holding space. I was so deeply impressed by this. I was like, why isn't this applied all over the world? But no, we have a masculine structure. Catch the criminal, put him in the jail, punish him, let him suffer, you know. So this is the other way, right? So we live at a time now when we need to hold space for healing. We need to counsel, we need to guide, you know, and that will also reduce in the collective consciousness that enormous quantity of violence and pain and polarity, you know. So whenever somebody gives you the talk of all those terrorists, all those evil ones, you know, I never buy into it. Now with the conflict of Ukraine and Russia, I was in Ukraine a year and a half ago, part of our ACT Foundation. We were there in Chernivtsi, which is near the Romanian border, so there was no bombing there. And there was a school where there were refugees. I'll just end with that. And it was really emotional for me because I was a refugee once, and I know how it is when you're humiliated, you know, when you can't even wash yourself properly, you have nothing to wear, you have nothing to eat. You go through this horrible curse of having and then not having, you know, because you lived a normal life and suddenly you are this poor person, you know, and you're facing complete insecurity and pain and suffering day after day. So when we came there, there was a sports hall full of women with children. They were sleeping on some mattresses, and they were sheltered in that school. So what we did, we provided a couple of shower cabins so they can shower. We provided ovens so they can cook more food, so they have more quantity of food and more satisfactory food. We brought many donations in food and stuff and hygiene items. And more than that, we also, I brought in, you know, some of my favorite clothes, because I remember my friend told me, when you give something, don't just give stuff you don't need and worn out stuff, and all. Give something you really like out of love, you know, just invest your love energy into what you're giving. So I gave a couple of my favorite clothing items, and there were I remember 5 Ukrainian women who wore my clothes. And then I invited them for a meditation. It's about opening of the heart and healing through love. It's called Power of Purity Meditation. It's very beautiful. And then they had shower, they wore those clothes, and they were like, you know, like aspects of me, those refugees that were healed. And they came for that meditation, and we shared the space, and we looked together into embracing that higher meaning behind our experiences, the divine providence behind everything we go through. And I, you know, aim to be an example for other people. Like, there's always a way out of victimhood. And when you open your heart, when you express your love, you know, you will experience something way beyond anything your mind will ever imagine. You will start to see that we are all so deeply interconnected, and we are in this web of divine field of consciousness, of pure love. And we are all here to reignite that divine spark in one another and experience the unity consciousness. So that's what I experienced that day. I saw myself in them. We all came together. And now in Serbia, I see so many Russian people who didn't want to be involved in war, and they came to Serbia to just survive, you know, until all of this is over. And I speak to them as well, and I understand both sides. I understand. I see divine in all, you know. And
Debbie,
I wish I could.
Thank you
Yes.
so much. We're butting up against time, so I'm just going to have to say thank you so much for all that you've shared. It's such an important message, and we so appreciate your being with us. And
Thank you.
now
I'm sorry if it was long.
No, that's okay. I'd like to go ahead and introduce our next speaker, Chloe. Chloe Goodchild is the founder of The Naked Voice, a pioneering experiential vocal training program, providing a sound awareness toolkit of conscious core practices, music, audiobooks, and spoken meditations that empower you to find and to embody your authentic voice. The Naked Voice Charitable Foundation was established in 2004 to disseminate a deeper awareness of the essential role conscious communication plays in strengthening ethical awareness, social health, and well-being in all realms of human life. Chloe's seminal book, The Naked Voice, Transform Your Life Through the Power of Sound, was published in 2015, and her podcast series launched in 2019. You can learn more about all of this at thenakedvoice.com. But now I invite Chloe. She's going to share with us an experiential vocal empowerment practice. Welcome, Chloe. You're muted still, darling.
Thank you so much, Elizabeth, and everyone. It's as if every voice that has spoken today is my voice. I find myself just nodding with every experience. My experience in terms of being face to face with out and out conflict has been more in the field of prisons. I've worked in high security prison in New York City and in Northern Ireland. And it was really in these places of confinement, as Devi was describing so beautifully, that we come up against. It's almost like we're realizing we've created this collective tension, you know, about right and wrong and about being right or wrong, which creates this separateness. And over the course of my life, I've really investigated this, the voice of separateness. What is this? Why is it that we are so, in conflict? And why does the egoic mind, why has it been allowed to gain so much supremacy over the wisdom of the soul? And so I loved what Davy was saying also about this third way. And I loved, Elizabeth, also what you're saying about the third force. Because for me, I love how when you actually think about the left eye, the right eye, and the pineal gland, the third eye, this triadic relationship between these three ways of seeing are really what inspires the work of The Naked Voice. And it inspires us to really assist people to find a way of communicating with ourselves primarily, and then with others. So I've been blessed to work with Eve Ensler in the Vagina Monologues, where we created the music for the Vagina Monologues in Madison Square Gardens with 20,000 people. And because we didn't have the usual, kind of top class singer in the heart of the garden with everybody projecting their fantasies for having a voice like that, we turned the whole thing the other way around. And it was really in Madison Square Gardens that I discovered the singing field and this understanding of the field of consciousness that everybody here has been referring to, this field of consciousness that is beyond right and wrongdoing. So I'd love just to share this anthem with you. But before I do that, I just invite you just to shake your hands a little bit. Maybe just shake your shoulders a little bit because we've been sitting quite a long time. And just make some nice sound. Woo! Lovely. And just throw your voice around a little bit. Woo! And then just rotate the shoulders back a little bit and forward. And then, with more time and as and when the time comes, we can actually bring our awareness right down into the roots. So if you bring your awareness right down into your feet, take your awareness 1,000 miles down through your feet into the earth, into the great mother, Gaia. So I'm just going to start before we sing the singing field, just to really honor the great mother herself beneath our feet, and for the extraordinary awakening process that she's going through right now. As human beings on the planet really learn to develop and access and embody a whole new language of consciousness. Gaia. Gaia. And just take a big breath. And just really let your whole body relax right down into the earth and receive the mighty power of the elemental, that great force of the mother coming up through your feet, up into the legs, up into the hips, energizing the whole spine, right up into the neck and the throat, and just feel your whole torso opening and strengthening, your heart center opening and strengthening. And then just let your head just make little circles in the air with your nose, and just enjoy just opening up the back of the neck, that extraordinary magical space between the top of the spine and the base of the skull, where the higher heart really sings. Bring your awareness right up into the pineal gland, and just let your eye, your third eye, look out through the middle of your forehead. And just be aware of that eye, that all-seeing eye, that listening, deep listening eye, observing without judging what it sees, informed by the left and the right eye, in this alchemy of listening and seeing and being. And really, as we learn as a human race to move beyond ideas of right and wrong doing. Out beyond ideas of right and wrong doing. There is a field, a singing field. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Beyond the fear, a separation, where we are free to wholly be. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Beyond the pain and separation, where we can feel a new way to heal. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. I'll meet you there. Beyond ideas of right and wrong doing. There is a field, a singing field. I'll meet you here.
Thank you so much, Chloe. That was absolutely beautiful. Thank you for bringing us and connecting us with the spirit of Mother of all mothers, Mother Earth. And in that spirit, I'm delighted to introduce our next and final speaker, Jyotima. Jyotima is an international renewed spiritual teacher cultivating projects that demonstrate ways of life that honor the earth and all peoples. As the grandmother vision keeper of the Center for Sacred Studies, she co-founded Kayumari with spiritual communities both in America and Europe. Other projects she has helped to convene are the International Council of 13 Indigenous Grandmothers and the Unity Concert. She's the founder of the Fountain, whose mission is to restore an economic model based on reciprocity and collaboration guided by nature and the sacred. Currently, as a delegate of the Mother Earth Delegation of United Original Nations, a collaboration with the Fountain has grown, creating a global movement for and with the Earth that is ready to activate the new day. Jyotima will be sharing her message regarding the prophecies of Mother Earth's ascension and a new dawn.
I just want to, first of all, say thank you for giving me this honor to sit at this table of women of such diversity, women of such heart and courage, women that are bringing a message, each of them called in a very special way. So it's a big honor for me to sit here at the end of that storytelling moment and to share a little bit about my story in that process. I'm a grandmother, a mother, a sister, an auntie, a woman of prayer. And something came and swallowed me up some years ago and brought me into a story that was unfolding. And as I began to walk it, I began to meet those that had heard the same calling. And it made all of us take a moment and jump out of an old way of thought that we had been raised on and fed, and it had put us to sleep. We started to wake out of that and shake ourselves. We came together to live in a spiritual, intentional community, and we wanted to do something different for our children and grandchildren. We didn't know what that would be, but we were on fire, and we still are. It brought us up to a mountaintop where we stepped off the grid and back into life's grid and mother's law. Many of our elders of the original nations would find their way up our 14-mile logger road, and they would begin to initiate us and shake us awake. They would begin to help us remember the original principles of life that Mother Earth gave us in her beginning times. We were humbled by this. We were very innocent and we were very unknowing, but we were on fire. We didn't know where we were going and we weren't sure how we would get there. We didn't have a plan. We threw that out with an old way that had put us to sleep. We learned to live in the present moment. We learned to sit and be in our ceremonial ways as the elders taught us to sit and be still and to listen to the intelligence of nature. We remembered and got inspired again when the dialogue with Mother Nature began. And it was only a few years into the beginning of this community that we would realize that we had been put in service to prophecy. We were taught how to listen more deeply. We were taught how to take our steps following the instruction of nature rather than trying to control it, manipulate it, or in somehow or another navigate it. We came back to our simplicity of life and honoring all life as sacred. We came to understand that in this prophecy that they later would share was the eagle condor prophecy that's been heard by many nations around this world. It brought our community to Colombia. It brought our community in 2013 to listen to this prophecy of the eagle condor, that the mamos there of the 4 original people, many tribes called them the elder brother. And when asked why, it's because they still live high in the La Sierra in an original way of life that has never been touched or influenced by the West. They go into caves and live from the time they're born, when they're seen to hold this special consciousness that will be able to blossom and open itself fully. They're brought into the caves out of the light of day until they're 9 years old. Then they go through some testing, some evaluation to see is that consciousness open all the way. And if it isn't, they go back until they're 18. And I have worked with some that have been in the caves for 28 years. I'm humbled every time I sit with them and every time they offer more teaching to deepen my deep listening. They told us in 2013 that we were entering a great, great cleansing time. They told us that this would last over the next 13 years, that the ending would fall into the beginning in 2026. They told us that as this took place, we must listen and watch and be informed by the ending as it falls down, but that we must focus on that which is breaking through, and that which is breaking through is carried by the original principles, those organizations, those individuals, those movements that are following original principle of collaboration, reciprocity, heart, unity, tolerance, compassion. All life is sacred. And so we're here in this moment, 2 years away from the ending, falling into the beginning. As I began to hold this study, as it began to pull me through these 13 years with eyes opening wider with every year, and more cleansing, more purification, more realization arriving, more humility. Our whole community in service to that which brought life. She called us this mother, as she has called every woman I have listened to in this beautiful time of sharing today. I was at one point brought over into India, where I stayed with my teacher for many months. And as I went on a pilgrimage myself into the holy sites in India, into the ashrams and other sacred places, some of them would have a clock on the wall. And this clock on the wall would show from 12 to 1 was 2,500 years. From 1 to 2 was another 2,500 years. And so it went all the way around the clock for 26,000 years. And the way they show that in India is that last little sliver, this very dark last little sliver, they call it the Kali Yuga. It tells us that there is a cycle of 26,000 years that is coming to an end. And a new one is about to open for the next 26,000 years. They tell us that the mother herself is in an ascension process. She's moving, as many of my elders have told me, from many different nations, from many different spiritual paths. She's moving from that third chakra of power and into the heart. Some of my elders have stories, creation stories, that will tell about this moment when she moves into her heart, when she ascends, and for the first time we get to be human beings. led by the intelligence of heart. For my elders told me, Rita Blumenstein, who's Yupik up in the north, the cold country, she told us a story about this. She said that that these first 3 chakras the mother lived in was for us to learn about our animal survival skills. But now we're moving into the heart. And she said, as they told this story, that in the beginning of their original times, all the birds were white and then they turned black. And the moment she starts into her ascension in the heart, the birds will turn white again. And many species of that white are coming to stand with us right now to announce this moment, like the white lion who is roaring from Africa, even as he is threatened and his extinction is threatened. But all of the beings of this planet are following her because she's going through the 6th extinction. You see, she's been through it 5 times before. She knows what to do. So she called us here right now to listen to her and her instruction. The prophecies prepare us, and now they instruct us. And most recently, they sent a message to us that we are to prepare and put out into the world. And the Mother Earth herself is saying, I have never had so much malady upon me. I've waited and been patient, and I still am, but I must tend to this malady. With you, I pray, or without you, I will need to take my own mother law back into hand, because I must not bring a threat to this creation. So you see, we're in a choice point for our humanity. We're in a choice point like never, ever before. Will we wake? Will we answer the calling? This is my prayer. That deep feminine will show us a way. And if we listen to that instruction that comes internally to us and follow it with full faith, the mother knows what she needs, then we will truly all realign with that motion and that rhythm, which is the heartbeat of life here. We will return to an original way of life based on mother law. So I thank you that we've come to celebrate this together, to listen to all the threads of the diversity of her plan as it has revealed itself in today's talk. I thank you. I thank you. I thank you.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Jody Ma, and all of the incredible women who have been with us here today. Deepest vows of gratitude to all of you, to all of those who have listened with us, to all those that will listen to the replay. Yes, Jyoti, we will wake. Yes, we will answer the call. We have and we will continue to do so. Patricia, would you please close our circle for us? Please unmute, darling. One more time, try that. One more time. It's not unmuting. There you go.
Let us remember, let us acknowledge, and let us proclaim. Every child is born through the sacred water of our mothers. And in this sacred water is life. We must see the beauty, and then we must love one another. And then we can truly care for all the 4 elements that is our constitution: the earth, water, fire, and air. existing within the environmental earth, water, fire, and air. And the miracle power of life itself, nourishing, is this water within us, the fire within us, and the air as the reality, sacred spiritual reality of in breath, out breath, rebalancing us to affirm there is only the love and peace of Creator's holy sacred breath that is the vibration and the resonance of our voice. And speaking as an indigenous person, a survivor, a refugee, we are exiled in our own country, and we're watching the Palestinians experience the same that was done to us in this country. And there is the woundedness of the doing wound and the being wound, and only love and compassion will heal. There is only love. Love is the essence and substance within us, around us, and in the whole universe. We call this Hojojik Ina, and that is, I'm going to say in English, a novel term to awaken us and to get our attention that we are truly initiating a planetary cosmic reverent revolution in which the resources no longer go from the poor to the rich or the bottom to the top, that go clockwise with the natural order law from elder to the next generation coming in and to youth. And every generation makes the decision to be a peacemaker, to be humane. And I thank you all. Ahya shaja shata diyan diyan the ne viyaja unshle ado nihi gle ahya shike shadane al nonsel. Thank you.
Thank you, Patricia. What a powerful closing of such a powerful circle. What an extraordinary conversation. Deep, insightful, personal messages were shared. Thank you to all the speakers. Thank you to all who watched live. And if you weren't able to join us for the live broadcast, keep an eye out for the replay link. Thank you to our sponsors, Purpose Earth, Unify, Hubcast, and Hollow Movement. We do have one more episode before the end of the year, so please join us for the next episode, episode 7, on Thursday, 21st of December at 8 p.m. Eastern Time for the Sacred Solstice concert with incredible Kristin Hoffman. We'll see you there. Thank you.
We Aboriginal people are universal. Our dreaming doesn't separate heaven from earth, as we are connected to the universe from the ground, our mother, to the trees, to the animals, to the sky, to the stars, to the sun and the moon.
I can hear them calling as they ride through me their song, and I can feel their spirits as they're singing me back home to travel across the land of our people still so strong to take it either back to where he belongs. So let's stand up together. Bring your totems to our fire. Let's stand up together and bring the spirit back to life as we place them in the sands. Like the eagles, they're so high. Let's stand up together as our tribes all unite. UNITY spells unity.
We are born with connection to our ancestors through our blood. Our hearts beat the same, whether or not we are conscious of it. Our ancestor spirit carries it and is connected to our spirits, just as every generation before. Our blood and our spirit is our key, not the colour of our skin.
One by one we'll take it to the top. A message from our dream. Till we get there, we won't stop. Won't you sing with me, my sister? Yes, sing with me, my friend. Sing with me, my brother. Sing it to a brother, man. As one till the end. Let's stand up together. Bring your totems to our fire. Let's stand up together and bring the spirit back to life as we place them in the sands. Like the eagles, they're so high. Let's stand up together as our tribes all unite.
Well, U is for universal unity, and negotiations for peace are necessary. I is instill international integrity to turn the tides of tyranny. Why? Cause that's the way it should be when we all stand together universally.
Close your eyes and imagine it. Feel it as your spirit comes into consciousness. Connect to your ancestors. No matter where you are, you will always have your connection to your country and your ancestors, as your ancestor spirit will never leave you. Trust in it and let it guide you. We are all brothers and sisters in the global community. Let us unite. Justice, peace, harmony for all.
Let's stand up together. Bring your totems to our fire. Let's stand up together and bring that spirit back to life as we place them in the sand. Like the eagles, they're so high. Let's stand up together as our tribes all unite. UNITY spells unity. UNITY spells unity. UNITY.